Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Bold and beautiful today. Carter Walton allowed. He'd eventually reached a season of calm in his life. After times of being the responsible one, the fixer, the man who carried everyone additional's chaos on his shoulders, he'd learned to breathe again. His relationship with Daphne felt light, uncomplicated, stimulating in a world where secrets were currency and love always came with a cost. Daphne was elegant, mysterious, worldly in a way that intrigued him. She carried herself like a woman who had lived numerous lives, yet she laughed like someone rediscovering joy. To Carter, she represented possibility. A unborn unburdened by the backstabbings of the history. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't imagine, was that Daphne had been carrying a verity so explosive it would rewrite everything he believed about himself, his history, and the man he was meant to come. The day everything changed began still, cruelly normal. Sun filtered through the altitudinous windows at Forrester Creations, casting golden patterns across the marble bottoms. Carter stood near the administrative services, reviewing documents on his tablet, when he noticed Daphne across the room. She wasn't herself. Her shoulders were tense, her eyes distant. She gripped her phone as if it were a lifeline, or a ticking lemon. When she looked up and met his aspect, her smile faltered. Commodity in her expression stopped him cold. "Daphne," Carter called vocally, walking toward her. "Hey, are you okay?" She dithered, also jounced too snappily. "Yes. I mean, no. Not really." Her voice wavered, betraying the storm beneath her calm surface. "Carter, I need to talk to you. Nearly private." Those words, in this world, no way meant anything good. Twinkles latterly, they stood inside Carter's office. The door clicked shut behind them, sealing them in a bubble of pressure. Daphne paced near the window, twisting her hands. Carter watched her, concern heightening with every step she took. "You're spooking me," he admitted gently. "What's going on?" She stopped. Sluggishly, she turned to face him. Her eyes lusted with unshed gashes. "I've prevaricated to you," she said. Carter's casket tensed. "About what?" "About my history. About who I am. About someone who's the most important person in my life." Carter exhaled, trying to stay predicated. "Daphne, everyone has a history. You don't have to." "Yes, I do," she intruded, her voice breaking. "Because it's not just my secret. It's yours too." The words hung between them, heavy and portentous. Carter lowered. "Mine." She jounced, gashes eventually slipping down her cheeks. "There's commodity I should have told you from the veritably morning. I didn't because I was hysterical. Hysterical you'd detest me. Hysterical you'd walk down. Hysterical of losing you." "Daphne," he said vocally, stepping near. "Whatever it is, we can face it." She shook her head. "You don't understand. This changes everything." Her hand quivered as she reached into her bag and pulled out a snap. She goggled at it for a long moment, gathering courage, also held it out to him. Carter took it. The image showed a youthful boy perhaps 6 or 7 times old, with warm brown eyes and a familiar smile. Commodity in Carter's casket stirred. The child looked strangely familiar. Uncomfortably so. "Who's this?" Carter asked. Daphne swallowed hard. "His name is Lucas." Carter studied the print again. The boy's eyes, his jawline, indeed the wind of his smile, it was uncanny. "Why does he look like you?" Daphne finished, her voice slightly above a tail. Carter's heart skipped. That's crazy. He's your son," Daphne said. The world stopped. Carter felt the bottom cock beneath him. His grip tensed on the print as if it were the only thing anchoring him to reality. "No," he said, shaking his head. "That's not possible. I don't have a son." "You do," she replied, her eyes contending. "And I should have told you times ago." Carter backed down, floundering to breathe. "This is a joke." "It has to be. You're telling me I've a child? A child I've no way met? No way known about?" Gashes streamed down Daphne's face. "I know I wanted to hurt you. We were youthful. We had that brief relationship in Paris. You were about to leave. Your life then, Your career, it was all just beginning. When I set up out, I was pregnant. You were formally gone. I tried to reach you, but I couldn't. Also time passed. And when our paths crossed again, I was alarmed. Carter's recollections surged. Paris. A transitory love. A woman who had charmed him in ways he'd no way admitted. Daphne. You no way told me, he rumored. I allowed. It was too late, she said. And also I fell for you each over again. I didn't want to lose you. You let me believe I had no children, Carter said, pain cutting through his voice. You let me make a life without knowing my own son was. I was guarding him, she said. And I was guarding myself. I didn't know how to bring it up without destroying us. Carter goggled at the snap again. His son. A son. A boy out there in the world, growing up without him. What does he know? Carter asked. He knows you live, Daphne said. I told him about you. That his father is kind. Strong. That you make the world more. Carter's throat tensed. And his just in Paris? Living his life while I'm then, fully in the dark? Yes, she said. But his then now. Carter looked up sprucely. Then. His in Los Angeles, Daphne revealed. I brought him with me. His staying with my family. I couldn't keep lying presently. You earned to know him. And he deserves to know you. The door sounded to close in around Carter. You brought my son then without telling me. I was staying for the right moment, she said. I was staying for courage. Silence gulfed them. Carter's mind contended. Recollections of his own nonage, of craving for stability, of wanting to belong. The idea that his own child had grown up without him shattered commodity inside him. I missed everything, he said still. His first way. His first words. His birthdays. All because you decided I didn't earn to know. I know I said you didn't earn to know, Daphne cried. I was spooked. You made that choice for me, Carter replied. You took down my right to be his father. The pain in his voice cut deeper than wrathfulness ever could. I love you, Daphne said. I always have. And I didn't want to lose you. Carter closed his eyes. You formally have. Her breath hitched. Carter, please. I need time, he said. I need to understand what this means. Who I'm now. Because everything just changed. He looked at the print formally more. The boy's eyes goggled back at him, filled with innocence and possibility. My son, he rumored. Daphne jounced. He's been asking about you. He wants to meet you. Carter's heart pained. What if he hates me? He won't, she said. He's been staying for you his whole life. Tears blurred Carter's vision. For the first time in times, he felt unsteady, vulnerable, mortal in a way he hadn't allowed himself to be. I do'n't indeed know how to be a father, he admitted. You do'n't have to be perfect, Daphne said. You just have to be there. Carter took a deep breath. When? Daphne's eyes widened. When what? When do I meet him? Hope flitted across her face. Moment. If you're ready. He dithered, fear and craving battling inside him. Also he jounced. Yes, he said. I'm ready. Because no matter how deep the treason, no matter how painful the verity, one thing was inarguable. Nearly in this megacity was a little boy who carried his blood, his smile, his future. And Carter Walton would not lose another moment. Daphne's secret had shattered his world. But it had also given him a new bone. Will Carter's daddy dreams ail while Daphne prepares for a gravidity fight? Carter Walton's dream of motherhood might be in jeopardy. Is it possible that Daphne Rose will face some gravidity challenges that could impact her sweats to conceive with Carter? Daphne wants a family with someone fully committed to her. Daphne easily has strong motherly instincts, but she desires a child with someone who's fully devoted to her. Naturally, Carter went down on one knee to demonstrate just how serious he is about their relationship. Still, Daphne also prioritizes her career and fears that she might not be suitable to balance everything, while Carter envisions an indefectible future for them. He has expressed his want to become a father and has been putting in the trouble to prove his commitment to Daphne. The week of January 12th to 16th is anticipated to bring some encouraging news for Carter and Daphne, indicating that they're likely to progress with their marriage plans. This lines up with 2026 preview spoilers. This aligns with the 2026 exercise spoilers, suggesting that Daphne and Carter are contending towards the balcony with a thing of having a baby as soon as possible. They won't vacillate to start a family together, but their appetite might affect in some dramatic lapses. Daphne and Carter's family bonds. It seems decreasingly likely that they will encounter difficulties in achieving this goal. Daphne's before commentary may have suggested at the possibility that starting a family might not be in her future. This rush towards marriage and parenting appears to be a precursor to implicit gravidity challenges. Daphne could feel dragooned, and she may face an gravidity journey with Carter openly expressing his desire to become a father. Daphne might feel pressured and worry about cheating him if she's unfit to conceive. Nonetheless, Carter is known for being probative and resourceful, so he may assure Daphne that he's open to exploring indispensable routes to parenting. They could consider using a surrogate or espousing if they face medical complications that hamper a natural gestation, depending on the reason for her incapability to conceive. The plot girding Carter and Daphne may concentrate on how they navigate the challenges of starting a family, with possible ways to do so if Daphne can't conceive. While they may encounter hurdles on their trip to getting parents, there's stopgap that they will remain united and eventually fulfill their dreams. Carter stood alone in the dim gleam of the Forrester office, the megacity lights fluttering behind him like distant stars, his hand resting unconsciously over his heart as Daphne's pulsing concession echoed in his mind. I may no way be suitable to give you a child. And for a man who had always flattered himself on control, on clarity, on knowing exactly what he wanted and how to get it, this was one moment he could negotiate, rewrite, or fairly maneuver around, because this was a contract, it was a business junction, it was the fragile, intimidating future of a woman he'd come to love far more deeply than he ever intended, a woman who had walked into his life like a storm wrapped in silk and horselaugh, and now stood before him with eyes filled with fear rather of fire, staying for him to decide if she was still enough. While across city Daphne sat in her apartment clinging a folded medical report like it was a verdict on her worth, replaying every word the croaker had spoken, every polite pause, every sympathetic regard, her mind contending with images of Carter holding a baby that wasn't hers, Carter smiling at a future that barred her, and the pain of that possibility slicing through her casket sharper than any opinion, because she had always believed love could conquer anything, distance, reproach, treason. But biology felt like an adversary she couldn't charm or outsmart, and the cruel irony was that she had no way indeed known she wanted a child until she saw the way Carter's face softened whenever he talked about family, about heritage, about the kind of father he pictured of getting, and now that dream felt like a ticking timepiece between them, counting down every twinkle, every kiss, every pledge, while at Brooks House Ridge paced like a boxed captain, furious that Carter had shut him out, that Daphne's secret had exploded into the heart of the Forrester family, because Ridge saw what Carter was getting. Torn, detracted, vulnerable, and vulnerability in their world was a weakness others would exploit, especially Hope, who had eavesdropped whispers of Daphne's condition and now set up herself scuffling with feelings she hadn't anticipated, a flicker of sympathy tangled with a dangerous spark of occasion, because Hope knew Carter's heart, knew his craving for stability, for children, for a future that felt complete. And indeed, though she loved Daphne as a friend, she couldn't ignore the quiet voice inside her asking whether fate was realigning effects for a reason, whether Carter's daddy dreams were meant to be fulfilled by someone differently, someone who could give him everything without fear, while Katie watched all of this unfold with a heavy heart, fating the pattern too well, love colliding with reality, desire battling fortune, and she stressed that Daphne, in her despair, would make choices that would destroy her. Because Daphne had formally begun probing experimental treatments, transnational conventions, phenomenon cures that promised stopgap at a price she didn't watch about paying, induced that if she could just fix herself, just come the woman Carter merited, everything would be saved, but deep down she knew the real fight wasn't against gravidity, it was against the terror of being abandoned, and when Carter eventually arrived at her door that night, eyes rimmed red, voice unsteady, she braced for the end, only to hear him say, I do'n't know what the future holds, but I know I do'n't want to face it without you. And those words shattered her defenses, because they were both a pledge and a question, a oath and a warning, and as she collapsed into his arms, gashes soaking into his jacket, Neither of them realized that this moment of fragile consanity would enkindle ripples that would rock every relationship around them, because secrets no way stay buried in Los Angeles, and by morning whispers would spread. Alliances would shift, hearts would be tested, and Carter's dream of getting a father would come the axis upon which every treason, temptation, and immolation would turn, forcing everyone, from Hope to Ridge, from Brooke to Katie, to defy what love truly costs when biology, fortune, and desire refuse to align. The coming morning actualized with a deceptive calm, sun discovering across Los Angeles as though nothing in the world had shifted, yet within Forrester Creations every regard felt loaded, every rumored discussion stoned by scuttlebutt, and Carter tasted it the moment he stepped off the elevator, the way exchanges stalled, the way eyes followed him with curiosity and concern, because news of Daphne's condition had formally begun to circulate in distorted fractions. She can't have kiddies. Carter's devastated. They won't last, and each interpretation landed like a blow, buttressing the fear he tried so hard to silence, that love in this world was no way private, no way sacred, always subject to judgment and hindrance, while Daphne remained at home, gaping at her phone, rereading Carter's communication. I meant what I said. We're in this together, as if reiteration could make it endless, yet indeed as stopgap warmed her casket, dread crept by, because together didn't mean ever, and she knew too well how snappily passions could change when brazened with unmet dreams, and in another office Hope set up herself unfit to concentrate on sketches, her mind drifting to Carter's gentle smile, the way he spoke about children with a tender-heartedness that framed on reverence, and she abominated herself for noticing how impeccably she fit into that picture, how fluently she could offer him what Daphne might no way be suitable to, and the guilt of that study burned, yet it refused to leave, growing louder with every sympathetic comment she eavesdropped about Daphne, because sympathy had a way of morphing into anticipation, into ineluctability, as if the world were formally preparing for an ending, and Ridge, watching Hope from across the room, tasted the shift, fating the dangerous mix of compassion and possibility in her eyes, the same mix that had undone so numerous connections before, and he brazened Carter in the hallway, voice low but critical, advising him that vulnerability made him a target, that people, indeed well-meaning bones, would step into the cracks forming in his life, but Carter, exhausted by advice, eventually snapped, telling Ridge that this wasn't a business strategy, that Daphne wasn't a problem to break, and that for formally he wanted to choose love over fear, yet indeed as he spoke, mistrustfulness dallied, because choosing love didn't abolish craving, and craving had a way of resurfacing in quiet moments, in the sight of a father holding a child, in the echo of horse laugh in a domain, in the image of a future that felt deficient, and that evening, when Carter and Daphne attended a charity fete, the discrepancy between their fragile consanity and the world-spangling prospects came sorrowfully clear, as guests complimented them on their beautiful future, as shutterbugs captured grins that hid query, and Daphne, overwhelmed, excused herself to the deck, where Hope soon joined her, offering comfort that felt sincere yet heavy, because beneath her kindness lay the implied verity that she couldn't unsee, the verity that Daphne's struggle might eventually come Carter's remorse, and when Daphne admitted her terror, her voice breaking as she confessed that she was formally losing him in her imagination, Hope held her, promising that Carter loved her, yet inside she wondered whether love alone could repel a dream remitted, and that night, alone in bed beside Carter's resting form, Daphne goggled at the ceiling, realizing that the fight ahead wasn't just medical but emotional, that every day she'd wake up measuring herself against a future she couldn't guarantee, and despair began to take root, pushing her toward secret movables, toward rumored phone calls with conventions overseas, toward the belief that she had to fix herself before Carter realized he merited more, ignorant that secretiveness, not gravidity, would come the true wedge between them, because as weeks passed and Daphne grew distant, consumed by exploration and fear, Carter tasted a shift, mistaking her anxiety for pullout, and into that growing space stepped query, also temptation, also the quiet comfort of exchanges with Hope that felt royal, familiar, safe, and he abominated himself for noticing how easy it was to breathe around her, how natural it felt to imagine a life unburdened by movables and chances, yet every time he looked at Daphne, saw her fighting so fiercely to hold on to him, guilt anchored him, reminding him that love wasn't about ease, it was about choice, and still, choice grew heavier each day, because the world around him kept bruiting that dreams signified, that motherhood was ent commodity to compromise, that immolation bred resentment, and as Daphne eventually reserved an experimental procedure without telling him, induced that surprising him with stopgap would secure their future, fate prepared its cruel twist, because the verity has a way of arising at the worst possible moment, and when Carter ultimately learned that she had risked her health in secret, that she had tried to come someone differently for him, the consummation would fracture commodity essential between them, forcing him to defy the very question he tried to avoid, whether love should bear metamorphosis, whether staying meant denying a part of himself, and whether walking down would make him a villain or simply a man choosing the future he'd always pictured of, and in that choice, every heart connected to theirs would feel the impact, because in this world, love was no way just between two people. It was a storm that swept through families, Gemütlichkeit, and patrimonies, leaving no bone untouched.